Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my Best in Beauty 2020. So this is where I round up the entire year and talk about top tier, best of the best products that I found this year. When I was looking over just like some of my favorites, pulling all of my top picks, some of them were from 2019. So I don't want to be repetitive. I will link those down below because obviously I'm still loving a lot of the products I mentioned in 2019. Some have been dethroned and I found better options. So I will talk about that today, but I'm going to move quickly and I will link everything down below. I am going to be collaborating with my friend Cheryl on this video, which I'm really excited about. Cheryl and I are just really close friends. We text pretty much all day, every day. I'm like, if I don't hear from her for a couple hours, I'm like, what are you doing? And she does the same to me. So we just kind of bounce ideas off each other in terms of just video ideas, but also we talk about our personal lives together. She's just become a really good friend of mine and we have very similar taste in makeup. So if I have a product that's amazing, I'm like, you got to get it. And she does the same for me. We just seem to like the same type of things. We have the same makeup vibe, which I would consider to be like that neutral glam. So we definitely prefer, you know, the highlight, the lip liner, the lashes. That's kind of our vibe. So we are going to be collaborating and I'm interested to see what products she chooses for the best of 2020. I feel like we're going to have some overlap just because, as I said, we're very similar in our tastes, but I'll be interested to watch that. So I will link her channel down below. Definitely go check out her best of 2020 and we'll just compare and see which products that we both put on our list. So now that I've done all of that, I will start on base and let's talk about the best makeup of 2020. So when I was pulling moisturizers from my collection or primers, really only one stood out for moisturizer, and this is from FAVS. You've seen me use this multiple times. This is called the Rich Bitch Cactus and Vitamin C Moisturizer. Huge component on here, and I like this because it's nice, thick, and emollient. It really does a nice job hydrating, but it doesn't disrupt my makeup. It sits beautifully under makeup. It gives me a nice hydration because I tend to go in with matte foundations most of the time. You get a ton for this. I mean, I've made quite a dent in it, but it's gonna last me forever. I really wanna check out more from this brand. So far, I love this and their Freck pen. Those are my two top picks from them. But if you're looking for a really hydrating moisturizer that's not overly scented, isn't gonna sting your skin, just a base moisturizer, I would highly recommend this one. In terms of primer, I only found one this year that I really thought stood out to me, and that is from Hailey's Beauty. This is the Refine Prime Foundation Primer. This is basically a blurring primer for your pores. So I don't use this all over. I just use it right in the center of my face where I have the most pores or enhanced texture. This is so nice. It's very affordable. I think it's like 12 bucks and it is basically a dupe for the Benefit Professional, but I find this one works even better. So I love this. 12 bucks. I really am almost out of it, so I'm gonna have to repurchase this. This is just my go-to. It's even replaced my Tarte Smoothing Primer, which I still enjoy, but I think I like this because I don't have to dig my fingers in it. I could just squirt it out, apply it, and be done. Moving on to foundation, I'm still loving the ones I mentioned last year, but I have 3 new ones. This was a big year for foundation for me personally. So the first one is the Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue Foundation. I actually did a first impression on this and was iffy about it, and I think I just used too much. This has become a favorite of mine. I actually purchased another one. I have the shade 116 Light Medium. I would describe this as a medium to full coverage, long-lasting foundation that is matte on the skin and quite smoothing. I can get a good 8 to 10 hours of wear out of this. It's a staple. I can use it for every day, or I can really build it up for full glam. It's one that I think I'm actually gonna go through, so I highly recommend this. Very similar to the Dose of Colors, this is the Too Faced Born This Way Matte. They killed it with this one. It is long wear, it is matte, quite smoothing, very similar to the Dose of Colors, to be honest. This might have a little bit less coverage, but again, you can build them to be the same. So these are just the kind of foundations I go for. I want matte, I want a smooth look, and I want it to lock in. I don't like foundations that feel like they're gonna slip or transfer. I like when they're locked in all day so that I know that they're gonna last, because I have an issue with things breaking up, enhancing my texture. Neither of these do that. They're very similar, to be honest, but I like both of them. And I feel like, I don't know, they're top drawer for me. Like, just depending on my mood for the day, I might grab one or the other, or depending on the shade I have, because I self-tanned or I didn't. But both of these are top drawer. I love both of them. And the other foundation I found this year that really blew my mind was the NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation. This is a super high coverage foundation. So for me, this is a full glam foundation. High coverage, like off the bat high. It's not medium, it's full straight away. but I love the finish of this. Very smoothing, again, very high glam. Everything blends beautifully over it. It really is like their pot concealer in a foundation. That's exactly how it feels on the skin. It does have that kind of soft matte, almost like a light powdery feel to it, but it's not drying. So if you have hyperpigmentation, redness, and you really need to cover up, this is a high coverage, great formula. It lasts all day. The only thing with this one is it's hard to get a shade that matches. I end up having to mix two, but I've been wearing this a lot because it lasts all day, but it also gives me that flawless look. For concealer this year, I found a lot that I enjoyed, and I still love my Too Faced Born This Way, but there was one that stood out to me that grew on me that I really, really enjoy, and this is from Pat McGrath. This is the Sublime Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Concealer. I have the shade LM8. What sets this one apart is it's just more hydrating. It's more skin-like. So a lot of the more full coverage concealers that I have, like the Tarte Shape Tape or the Born This Way, are a little bit more matte on me personally. This one is a little bit more hydrating, but it gives you that coverage. So a lot of the times when I find a concealer that has a lot of hydration, usually it's a little bit thinner, not as much coverage, but this gives you the best of both worlds. It is expensive, but it really does cover and hydrate your under eye. It looks quite smooth. So I really like this. This is like my top pick of the year. I always keep it top drawer. This and the Too Faced are still like my go-to concealers. Moving on to powder, it's very important for me to find a loose powder that I love that will smooth my pores and texture and set down my concealer and foundation. I do not like an unset face. It just doesn't work for me personally. So my top picks are the Huda Beauty Pound Cake Powder. I've had this for so long and I still have quite a bit of powder. This is amazing for smoothing your pores and setting your foundation, set all over, bake, whatever you want to do. My only gripe with this is it has like that heavily scented floral scent, which I don't love, but I got used to it because I used it so much. And then my second pick, which is newer to me, but it's very, very lightweight, very smoothing, gives you that airbrush look. This is the One Size powder. So this is Patrick Starr's line, and I got the shade Translucent. I just have the mini, but really the first time I used it, I knew it was gonna work for me. I would say this is a little bit more finely milled. This is a little bit thicker, so maybe for most days I would go for the One Size just because it's a little bit lighter and more natural, where the Huda Beauty, I feel like I can really bake and brighten under my eyes. I have one setting spray to mention, and it is the best I've tried for locking in my makeup, and this is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. So I have to say that this does what it says it's gonna do. Very expensive, but you know, 3 or 4 sprays and it locks your makeup in all day. I don't use this every day just because it's expensive and if I'm just kind of around the house, but if I were to go out anywhere, if I was a nurse, if I had to wear a mask, I would be using this, and I've recommended it to you guys, and it's so nice getting comments from you guys that are like, I tried it and it stayed on with my mask. This really locks your makeup in perfectly. So I've recommended it before, but I just want to tell you again, if you're looking for a long-lasting setting spray, this is the best that I've ever tried, so much so that I even bought the full size. So I'm still, you know, going through my mini, but blown away by this product, one of the best products of the year. Moving on to brows, I have a lot of products, which is kind of interesting because brows are kind of like the most boring thing, but I feel like some of these companies have really stepped their game up and came out with some really unique brow products. The first one is the M Cosmetics Brow Cream. This is in the shade Brunette. This is a beautiful brow gel that is tinted. So if you want a brow gel to really comb through your brow hairs but also give you a tint, this is amazing. It really has hold and it really makes your brows stand up, gives you a more fluffy appearance. It's been a favorite for so long for me, and it really stands out to me above my other ones. Like, I used to use the Benefit Ka-Brow. Was that what it was called? Benefit Ka-Brow? I can't remember, but something Benefit had. This has replaced it. I have the Milk Makeup one, which is good. I've tried drugstore, but this one just really stands out to me. I love how thin the wand is, and I just love the kind of pigment that you get without being goopy. So this is a product that I've loved and I've repurchased many times. The next brow product is something that I use and I've used for so many months, and it's blown me away. This is the Glossier Brow Flick. So it's essentially a marker to do hair-like strokes, and I've tried other brands, but this one has been the most pigmented for me, and it just has the most control, or I have the most control with this. So I use the shade Brown. I ended up buying Blonde, but it barely shows up on me, and I prefer a more pronounced brow, I guess, even though I am platinum blonde. So I love this. This has not dried out. I've had it for, I would say 4, 5, 6 months. I have no concept of time, but I've never had to repurchase this specifically. It's still going strong. It's just nice, more so for natural days for me, to really just draw in some strokes and kind of bush up my brows without having to do kind of the Instagram brow where I underline and make everything look sharp. And then lastly for brows is a new brand called Refi, and this is from an Instagram model named Jess Hunt, who has insanely bushy brows. So this is like perfect for her. So this is the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like their clear brow gel. The only thing I don't like is that they don't have the names on here. So I'm like, what is this called? But essentially it just gives you that bushy brow look, like soap brows, but it's in this component and it's not as stiff. So I just wiggle it through my brows and then I just set them down and they stay all day, and it really gives you that feathery look. This is newer to me, but it blew me away so much I already repurchased. And then from the same company, their brow pencil, it's very similar to the Benefit Precisely My Brow, but it's even smaller. It's very close to the Benefit, but it's a smidge smaller, and that makes all the difference when you're trying to do hair-like strokes and you have very thin brows like I do. So I already repurchased this as well. So this is replacing my Benefit just because it's smaller. The smaller the better for me because I don't have big brows. I need very precise brow products to really make my brows look bigger than they are. Moving on to complexion, I only have one bronzer to mention. There was a lot that I really loved, but one just keeps standing out to me that I keep reaching for, and this is from MAC. It's called Beijing Beauty. The only thing about MAC is they have like limited edition collections, and that's kind of hard to get your hands on, but I am making a dent in this. This is a gorgeous bronzer, has a little bit of a radiance to it, and the color is just perfect for me because it's not too deep and it's not too light. It's just easy for me to build up whether I have a tan or not. It's just been top drawer for me. Most days I'm reaching for this, and when I'm filming and I'm not trying new stuff, I'm reaching for this as well. Formula is perfect. I believe they only had 2 shades though, which I'm like, we need more shades, but this one in particular just works well for my skin tone. Moving on to blush, you know I'm a blush fiend, and this year was a great year for blush. Lots of cream formulas that I really do enjoy. The Fenty Beauty, even the Milani, there's a lot. The Tower 28 I mentioned last year. But the ones that I didn't talk about were the Lawless Velvet Blushes. These are phenomenal. My favorite shades, which I've talked about so many times, are Phoenix, which is this like hot kind of red. It gives you that burnt summer, sun-kissed kind of look. And then when I want the more baby doll look, which is the one I use probably more, it's called Sakura. They're just gorgeous, highly pigmented. These are talc-free, and they're just, I don't know, they're just easy to use. They never grab, they never patch up, they blend beautifully, highly pigmented, but not to where you're like gonna look like a clown because you know, put too much on. The formula really is A1 on these. Wow, A+ beauty guru vibes, but these are great. Honestly, you just can't go wrong. I think there's like 2 or 3 that have a glow to them, and then there's some matte ones as well. So check Sephora and it'll kind of describe each shade. Now, if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know that I'm not gonna talk about blush without talking about my beloved Patrick Ta blushes. These are hot fire, so good. One of my top picks of the year. So I have all 4 shades, but the 2 that I love the most are She's That Girl, which is just a really pretty pink. It just gives me that baby doll look. So these have a powder on one side and a cream on the other. You can layer them together. You can put the powder down first, then the cream. You can do whatever you want. These work beautifully over powder, over a set face, which is very important to me. So I use that shade when I want, you know, the punchy baby doll cheeks. But the standout shade for me, if you haven't tried it, is She's So LA, which is just such a unique bronze tone blush. So again, you get a cream and a powder. I actually use the powder as a bronzer a lot of the time. Like in a lot of my videos, I use it to contour my nose, bronze my face. It's just absolutely stunning. There's something so special about this color, and the formula is perfection. So I would highly recommend these. These are one of my favorite releases of the year, and I'm looking for him to release this same formula in actual bronzers and highlighters. And then my last pick for blushes are definitely gonna have to be the M Cosmetics blushes. This formula is incredible. It's so unique in the sense that these really do give you a glow, but they're like a baked powder, and they don't have glitter or anything that enhances your texture. They just give you a lit from within glow, even though they're not a cream. It's very hard to describe. So Faded Clementine is gorgeous. It's like a burnt, again, that burnt look, almost like the Phoenix from Lawless, but it's just more of an orange bronzy tone. It's so hard to describe, but this one I love to put all over my face, like all over the center of my face, my nose, everything. And then if you want more of a light pinky, just like a neutral pink, then you can look into Magic Hours, what it's called. But the formula on these are just A1. There's nothing to describe them until you apply them to the face. Something about these is just so special. So again, I'm like, come on, can we come out with more shades? Like I would love, you know, 5 more shades to come out so we can really have all different colors to try in this formula. It is absolutely stunning. These are sold out so much of the time and I'm not surprised. So I found 2 new highlighters this year that really stood out to me that I wanted to rave about because they're just incredible. And I would say that the formula is very similar on both of them. I definitely like a baked kind of gelée type highlighter formula. So the first one is the Nabla Skin Glazing Highlighter in Ozone. They have a bunch of shades of these and they even have blushes and bronzers, which I love as well. But this really stands out to me because it is just wham bam, thank you ma'am, high shine. It doesn't enhance your texture. It doesn't cling. It doesn't give you fallout. I don't know how to describe this other than absolutely stunning. If you like a blinding highlight, you have to check out the Nabla ones. I love the packaging too. It's just so aesthetically pleasing for me. But these are just beautiful highlighters. There's literally nothing else to say. Also love the blushes and the bronzers in this formula. Something about this baked formula is incredible. So this stood out to me. It's very similar to like Benefit Cookie, but I like this a little bit more. And then the newest highlighter to my collection that I've been loving so much is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude Glow. This one is very similar in tone to the Amrezy ABH. It's a little bit stiffer in formula, but similar. Not as creamy, but when you build this up, again, it is blinding. This one is extremely intense. You can make it more subtle, but of course, I mean, I want it more intense if I'm gonna use it. Like I'm kind of like, either I don't use highlighter like during the week if I'm just chilling, or I want that blinding effect. So if you're looking for a super high shine, kind of neutral gold color, this is amazing. So now I wanna talk about eyeshadow palettes. And I have to say that this year was a good year. There's 4 that stand out to me that I just get so excited to use. They work every time, they make me feel good, and they have a little bit of pizzazz to each of them. So the first one is the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. First of all, I love this price point. This is her mid-range, so it's about $65 rather than the $130 or the minis. You get a ton of options in here, but they're smaller pans. And for someone like me with a big collection, this is great because I can create a lot of different looks and I'm not gonna hit pan on these. So for me, this is just a gorgeous everyday neutral palette. If I don't know what to do and I don't wanna think about it, I can go in here and use any of these warm colors and do a matte look or do something similar to what I'm wearing right now. I could even go in a little bit smokier if I want to go up here, but these just basically do the work for you. They blend incredibly well. They're easy to work with. Pigmented high shine. That's what I'm looking for in a palette. Something that excites me, but that it's also easy to use and amazing quality. And I think Natasha just really knocks it out of the park. So I definitely had to mention this because this is one of my just most used palettes. And of course, you know that I had to mention, you know, the cousin to the bronze palette, and that's going to be the Natasha Denona Glam palette. Again, great price point, smaller pans. This is the cool toned version of the bronze palette. I'm very much into neutrals. If I were to choose for myself, I do prefer neutrals on myself. Even if I do full glam, neutrals I tend to feel best in, but I like that this is a cool tone spin on it. So you can kind of change things up a little bit and have more of that grayish tones or the silvery eyes. Every time I wear this, people are like, I'm feeling 90s. Like I feel like I'm like Pamela Anderson when I wear these shades because it is just kind of like a throwback 90s feel. But you have some just neutral shades in here that you could just do an everyday look. It's just not very warm. So you get the best of both worlds because you get the really bronzy, warm orange tones, but then you can also go for these really cool toned silvery shades. Again, beautiful formula. I like the price point on these. I like how many shades you get. I just adore these palettes. So these next 2 palettes are fairly new to me, but honestly, they blew me away and I had to mention them. So I'm wearing the first one on my eyes right now, and this is the Vive Essentials palette. So this is Jamie Genevieve's brand. I've used this now maybe 7 or 8 times, but it's enough to know that every single time I use this, the mattes blow me away. If you have issues blending and you feel like you just have such a hard time doing a grungy, blown out smoky eye, I highly recommend you check into this palette. First of all, the shades are huge, but I love that it's mostly matte because it really can kind of help you have a base for any look you want to do. So you could use this palette and then put a highlight on your lid, or a pigment, or maybe a palette that you feel like the mattes are a little hard to work with, but the shimmers are okay. Every time I use this, love the makeup. You guys have complimented it. I've worn it in multiple videos. And anytime I'm doing just like an everyday look, I tend to go into this shade, and this shade. It's just a staple. Now I will say that I don't love the shimmers in here because they can be a little flaky, but the mattes are incredibly pigmented and the mattes make up for it. For me, I don't really think I will use the shimmers as much. You can see I have it on my eyes right now. It's not bad, but I much prefer the mattes, and whatever formula she has going on in here specifically with the mattes is incredible, and I cannot wait to see what other color story she's come out with. So just very excited. Every time I use this, it blends effortlessly. It's super pigmented. That's the thing. It's not even like you have to build it up. It's insanely pigmented when you first put it down, but it just blends effortlessly. So for me, this is a huge win. One of my favorite palettes of the year, top drawer. I get excited to use it every time. And the last eyeshadow palette is fairly new to me again, but I have to tell you, the formula on this is incredible. The color story, the packaging, everything about this. This is the Lunar Beauty Eternal Eclipse palette, which is Manny's brand, his newest palette. The color story on this palette is absolutely stunning because, again, very similar to the Natasha Denona Glam. You can go neutral, but you can also go with this old gold shade, which is so incredibly beautiful, or go into this blue, or you can use the color Stone, which is a really, really cool tone gray, almost leaning blue. This is a smoky eye palette for sure. When I see this, I think holiday, I think New Year's Eve. I just think a night out. And I have to say the mattes in here are insane. Again, very similar to the Vive. They just blend themselves. And I've seen other people say that too. I even asked Manny, I'm like, did you do something different with this formula? Because it's even better. And his palettes have always been great, but this one, something about it is special. It's just stunning. The color story is just different enough, but still neutral, which is what I prefer. So I highly recommend this palette if you wanted to get a cool toned palette. Obviously, I love the Glam palette as well. It's just kind of what color story speaks to you. But this just is a beautifully done palette. Everything about it is gorgeous. I love the color story. I love that you can kind of go either way. And I love the blendability and the pigment. And that's what I'm looking for. Something that is easy to use, is gonna get my makeup done nicely, and I don't have to struggle with it. Moving on to eyeliner, I have one to mention. I haven't had a change in my winged liner. I have a lot that I love, like the NYX Epic Ink, the KVD Tattoo. I have the one from Artists of Makeup, which is my all-time favorite. It's an indie brand. So this is the Nabla Cupid's Arrow Full Cover Stylo. This is kind of confusing, the name. Essentially, you can use these anywhere on the face, but I have the number 2 and number 4, so brown and black. These are incredible. I have the brown in my waterline. These are so creamy and they blend effortlessly. If you want a eyeliner to smudge, this would be the one that I would recommend to you because I've never had such an ease of smudging it. It doesn't get patchy, dry, skippy, none of that. But once you get it smudged out, it locks down and stays there. So these are really highly rated and I'm not shocked by that. They stand out to me. I think they have in total 4 or 5 shades of them, but I really want them to expand to some more colors, maybe like a hunter green or more like navy blues, but these are incredible quality. Moving on to lips, I only have one new lip liner this year that's really just impressed me so much. Obviously, there's a bunch that I love, but when I was thinking about the best of the best, I have to give it to Jamie for Vive. I have it on right now, the shade Bark. This is so beautiful. I still love my Melt and Charlotte Tilbury and Pat McGrath and all the ones I've mentioned before. But this shade and the blendability on this, the pigment and the wear, I'm very impressed with. I already ordered another shade of this. I just highly recommend it. I don't think the price point is too bad. And it's one of those that you don't have to roll up. You sharpen this one, but it's just very comparable to a Pat McGrath or Charlotte Tilbury, a little bit creamier. And I just love the colors that she chose. So this is top drawer. Ever since I got it, I just want to use it every day. So in terms of lipsticks, I have 3 to talk about. The first one being the KKW lipsticks. Now she has different formulas, but I tend to go for these lipsticks a ton. Like if I'm filming and I just want to do my makeup and I don't want to have to think about it. So I have the shade here, Love, and then I also have the shade Peach 1. These just go beautifully with the lip liners I choose. So I didn't use it today, but if I did, I would just put it in the center, blend it into my lip liner, and I just prefer colors like this that are a little bit more like sherbet brighter. For some reason, they just kind of mesh well with my skin tone and my hair color, but I like the cream formula, I guess. I do have some of the matte ones from her that are very, very dry, not my favorite. Definitely reach for these two a lot, top drawer for me. Also, again, have to give it to Jamie for the VAVS lipsticks. These are her Comfort Matte lipsticks, or modern matte lipsticks, but they're very comfortable. I'm wearing one right now. Actually, I'm wearing both of them. I mixed them. So I have the shade 90s, and then I have the shade VAVS. I already ordered 2 more. The last one was out of stock, so I will have 4 of the 5. I love the packaging on these. They feel nice. They're not super weighted like a Tom Ford, but they do feel, you know, nice quality luxe. And I love the shades because they have more of that gray tone. They're very unique, very grungy colors, but not over the top. Sometimes when you're looking at grunge colors like ABH or Melt, they can be pretty much gray, blue, green. These are still nude, but they have a grungy tone to them, and the formula is fantastic. They don't pill up, they don't slip around, they're not too dry, they're comfortable, pigmented, creamy. I really love these. I'm just really watching her brand. It's really one of the standouts for me this year. My last lipstick formula is the new Slip Shine lipsticks from Fenty Beauty. These are absolutely stunning. Something about this formula, just the right amount of pigment and shine. They just look gorgeous. And every time I wear these, I get so many compliments from you guys. So I have the shade Glazed, which is a little bit more pinky, but basically a nude. And then for more of that brown nude, I have the shade Makeout Break. These are just stunning on the lips. I don't know how to describe it, but if you put them on the center of your lips with a lip liner, they just look so shiny and just gorgeous. I don't know really what else to say about them other than they're so comfortable, nice amount of pigment, so you can definitely see the difference in them. It's not something where all the shades are just like clear, but they feel comfortable on the lips, and they just give you such a really pretty, almost illuminated, juicy looking lip without being a gloss. So I love these. I have 2 shades of them because I prefer the nude shades, but I would definitely buy more if she came out with more neutrals. Now, in terms of lip gloss, I had 2 that stood out to me this year, although I have a ton of favorites, but the ones that really stood out to me that came out this year that I feel like everybody would enjoy, the first one is the Lifter glosses from Maybelline. These are incredible, and they're basically very similar to the Fenty Beauty. I love the packaging on them, and I just think this is such a hit. I wish that drugstore brands would come out with more stuff like this, just because I feel like everybody would enjoy these. They have a nice shine to them. They have a bunch of different colors. Some of them have shimmer, and then some of them are more milky like this one. So the one that I feel like most people are gonna want is the color Moon, which is a dupe for Fussy from Fenty Beauty. But this one called Stone is more pigmented and more of a cream nude shade. So I just feel like they knocked it out of the park with this. I would love to see more releases like this from drugstore brands. This is a practical item that everybody could enjoy. People are gonna wanna throw in their purse, and it's so affordable. These are high shine, comfortable. They're not super sticky, but they don't slip and slide all over. They're a really nice formula. And then lastly, a newer product. These are from Tower 28, and these are their lip jellies, but they're the milky versions. I love a milky gloss, kind of like Stone from Maybelline. Just that creamy, opaque look. I'm trying to get it open. What's going on? Okay, so the 2 shades that I really like are Oat, which is just a really light, milky pink. It just is something that I would put on any nude lipstick just to tone it down or lighten it up a little bit. And then I do like this shade Almond. I think this would be so gorgeous if you have a deeper skin tone. It's a cool tone, chocolatey brown. And you can see that they're high shine and glossy, but they have that milky texture to them, or that creamy texture. There's no shimmer in here at all. It's just kind of like a jelly milk pigment. Beautiful. These are even thinner than the Maybelline, so if you don't like any type of thick gloss, these might be ones to check out because they're very light on the lips. And I wanted to finish off this video with 2 fragrances that I've fallen in love with this year that I wanted to mention, even though I've talked about it enough if you're new to my channel. So the first one is, of course, Baccarat Rouge 540. This is so expensive, but I've been wanting it for so long. So I finally picked it up on Black Friday. And all I can say is that I feel like everybody would like this scent. There's something about it that's not really falling into any category, meaning that it's not spicy, it's not, you know, too sweet, it's not too floral, it's not too mature. It's just a nice, light, fragrance that just smells incredible, and it's unisex. So I can definitely smell a little bit of unisex in there. Something about this is just so special. It has a cult following and I understand why. And I was just wanting it for so long. So I finally took the dive, and I just basically every day I'm just like, yes, like something about this. It doesn't give me a headache. Oh my gosh, it just smells so incredible. So the hype is real on this. This is one of my top 5 fragrances of all time. And then the other fragrance is Kilian Love Don't Be Shy. I have to say the bottle on this is just gorgeous. This was so expensive, but once I smelled this, I fell in love with it. I got a travel size from Sephora and I'm already like halfway through it. And so I went ahead and got the full size. This will never, you know, not be in my collection because this is probably my favorite perfume of all time. It's very sweet. People have described it as like bubble gum or grape bubble gum or even fruity pebbles, and it really is very sweet. So if you don't like sweet, you won't enjoy it. But for me, I'm all about like the sweet. The sweeter, the better. It really can't be too sweet for me. So something about this is just perfect. I just spray a couple sprays on and it just lingers all day. Something that I enjoy, makes me feel good in quarantine. Definitely worth the price tag for me personally, but it's very expensive. So just know, unless you want to smell like bubble gum or just super marshmallow fluff sweet, I don't know if you would like this. All right, guys, so that concludes my Best of Beauty 2020. I feel like that just took like 3 hours to go through. So many products. I tried to move quickly. I will link everything down below as well as Cheryl's channel to check her out. Definitely look into her channel if you like beauty or if you just love Sephora hauls, trying new makeup, drugstore. She does all of it, very similar to my content. Again, let me know what you found this year that really, really stood out to you. I tried to move quickly again, and I tried to talk about like the things that came to mind, but of course there's a ton of stuff that I love this year, but these are top picks, stuff that I really am wowed by and I think everybody would enjoy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.